We're going to run through a simulation of the UR5 robot, testing the grid of blocks for which ones are foam and which ones are wood. And we're doing this so that we can relate to the Zoomy the actual path to get across the grid, which will be made up of the wood ones, not the foam. So, as you can see, we have this camera mounted on a tripod that's looking down on this grid of AR tags. What it's doing right now is it has mapped the positions of these AR tags into an array that we're going to store and use with the UR5 robot when it's performing inverse kinematics and traversing the grid and testing it. So now we're going to move the UR5 into a more favorable position to get it ready to start testing. So as you can see, the favorable position has put us in a way such that the end effector is oriented where the force sensor is ready to compress the blocks in Z and read forces. So now we're going to go down to a specified height above the block and begin traversing the grid. So it is moved in the XY plane to the first corner and now is testing in Z and compressing and reading force values. And we are simultaneously storing whether or not the block is wood or foam. The way we are reading the force values is we make sure that the force sensor is calibrated and gone over a certain threshold force, and then after that is reached, we map the slope of force versus time, and by looking at the steepness of the slope, we're able to tell whether or not the block is wood or foam. So as you can see, the UR5 is just traversing the grid in a snake-like motion. And now it's finished traversing the grid. Alright, so now that the UR5 is finished traversing the grid, it has now mapped the array of blocks into the grid of blocks into an array of ones and zeros, where ones represent wooden blocks and zeros represent foam blocks. So just to show you before we head over to the computer, the actual path we have manufactured here from this start block to the rectangular block at the end is this is wood, this is wood, this is wood, this is wood, and that is wood, resulting in a feasible path across the grid for the Zoomy. Everything else is foam. And so that would result in a starting position of this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, so we want to start at position 4. So now I'm going to go back to the computer where we have a GUI representation of what we've tested. So as you can see, the UR5 has identified the path of wood blocks, similar to how I just showed you on the actual path. Everything in brown is wood, while everything in white is foam. And then over here, it is outputted the Zoomy should start at position 4, which is where I showed you it should start. And so now we're going to switch the network and relay this information in a stored data structure to the Zoomy and allow it to drive across.